Human society is extremely complex and fragile, built upon various pillars. One of them is the honeybee. However, bees are still dying in masses nowadays. We need to help our small buzzing friends or we will face extreme unpleasant consequences. 1 out of 3 meals eaten by humans is made possible by honeybees. They are so important that if all the honeybees were to die out, thousands of plants would follow, which could lead to millions of people starving in the following years. On top of that, honeybees have a huge economic impact for about 265 billion US dollars per year. Food we take for granted would just stop existing without them, or there would be a massive decrease in productivity. Food including apples, onions, pumpkins, and also plants used for feeding livestock, and thus extremely important for our milk and meat. It's unsettling, but honeybees have started to disappear. Millions of hives have died in the last few years. Beekeepers all over the world have seen an annual loss of 30 to 90% of their colonies. In the US alone, bees are steadily declining, from 5 million hives in 1988 to 2.5 million today. Since 2006, a phenomenon called colony collapse disorder has affected honeybees in many countries, and we're not entirely sure what's causing it. All we know is that it's pretty serious. Over recent years, new insecticides have been introduced that are deadly to bees. Neonicotinoids, a chemical family similar to nicotine, was approved in the early 1990s as an alternative to chemicals like DDT. They attack insects by harming their nervous systems. Today, they are the most widely used insecticides in the world. In 2013, neonicotinoids were used in the US on about 95% of corn and canola crops, and also on the vast majority of fruits and vegetables, such as cherries, peaches, potatoes, cereal grains, rice, and nuts. Bees come into contact with the toxin while collecting pollen or via contaminated water, often bringing material into the hive where it can accumulate and slowly kill the whole colony. The toxins harm bees in a variety of horrible ways. In high enough doses, it quickly leads to convulsions, paralysis, and death. If this happens often enough, a hive can lose its ability to sustain itself. Over the last few decades, bees have seen an invasion of very dangerous foes. Parasites straight out of a horror movie, like the Varroa Destructor, a fitting name because they can only reproduce in honeybee hives and are one of the bee's greatest enemies. The female mite enters a honeybee brood cell and lays eggs on the bee larva before it's about to pupate, and before the hive bees cover the cell with a wax capping. The eggs hatch and the young mice feed on the developing bee in the safety of the capped cell. The bee is not normally killed at this stage, just weakened, so it still has enough strength to chew its way through the wax capping and release itself from the cell. As it does, it releases the young mice from the cell, and these are free to spread across the hive, starting the process over again in a cycle of about 10 days. Their numbers grow exponentially, and after a few months, this can lead to the collapse of the entire beehive. To make things worse, they also transmit viruses that harm the bees even more, and can lead to birth defects like useless wings. Or like a Carapace woody, microscopic mice that infect the trachea of bees. Here, they lay their eggs and feed from the fluids of their victims, weakening them considerably and spending their whole life inside the bees. But there are other threats too. There are even more factors contributing to the demise of bees, such as too much genetic uniformity, crop monocultures, poor nutrition due to overcrowding, stress because of human activities, and other pesticides. Each of those factors on its own is a major problem for bees, but together, they probably account for colony collapse disorder. With parasites upping the game in recent decades, the honeybees are now fighting for survival. It would be a catastrophe if they lost this fight. This is a conundrum we have to solve if we want to continue living with a relative abundance and diversity of food. Humanity is deeply interconnected with Earth and the other life forms on it. Thus, we have to take better care of our surroundings in order to preserve the beauty of nature.